It's time to pull those belts tight, race fans. The front stretch is coming at you, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Now, here's Dan Taylor and Dirk Houston.
Hi, this is Brad Keselowski, 2012 NASCAR Sprint Cup champion, and you're listening to The Front Stretch.
Well, good morning to you, race fans, and welcome to The Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Online at joeskarting.com. Fast-paced white-knuckle racing, now with eco-friendly Honda engines. Just across the river, you could do some great indoor racing. Boy, what a great day for indoor racing, huh, Dirk? I'm telling you. You know, as a son, I hate it when my dad's right. It's just the way I am. And he always tells me, you know, it could be August, and I'm running out of the door for the first day of school or whatever, and he'd tell me to take my stocking cap, and I'd say, "Oh, Dad, you're being dumb." And he says, "You never know when it's going to snow." Well, this week hasn't proved him right. I don't know what week will. I mean, and even last Saturday when I was at the Andrew and Kara's wedding, and by the way, I forgot to say it when we were live on Sunday morning, so congratulations to those two on their wedding. But they had everything that day. We had wind, rain, sleet, snow, sun, nice, beautiful sun, no wind, then back to wind and rain and sleet. And I mean, it was everywhere, all over the board. I couldn't believe it. You literally waited 15 minutes and the weather would change.
Mother Nature was having a hot flash. That's all there was to it.
She's something else this week. Hey, speaking of this week, we got a great show lined up for you today. And by the way, happy Easter to everybody out there that celebrates. I know I'll be celebrating in one of my favorite times of the year. Honestly, not because of the candy or that. But I get to watch. Yes, it is. I finally get to watch 10 Commandments. I love that movie, the Charlton Heston version of it. Don't give me any of this
original
redone crap. I love that movie, and I always get so excited when Moses parts the seas. It's my favorite part of the movie, and so I'm excited to watch that tonight. So that'll be a lot of fun, and I'm sure it'll be on CBS as it always is.
Well, now I know what to buy you next Christmas.
Probably get it for pretty cheap on Amazon. But happy Easter, everybody out there. We got a big show lined up for you today. As always, turn number 1, we will recap Auto Club Speedway and everything that happened. In turn number 2, I feel so bad about this because he is such a great driver and such a legend. We talked to Steve Kinser.
September, October?
It was a while ago.
October it was.
And we basically did the interview because we had the availability. We had Steve sitting there. We had all the equipment. And so we said, let's talk to you for about 10, 15 minutes and kind of talk about your retirement. And we'll use it when we can use it. You know, good thing is we've been so busy with everything we've been doing, all the interviews we've been doing, that we haven't got a chance to play it yet. So there's going to be a little bit of outdated reference stuff like him just retiring, which he did. He was getting through the end of his first year of retirement. So it's, but there's still a lot of really good information in there. We're finally going to get to play that for you. In turn number 3, we're going to talk with Dusty Reynolds. He is the creator of RaceNote. It's a digital Bible, and we'll let Dusty talk a little bit more about it, but basically it's an easy way on your iPad or on your phone to be able to track all the stuff that you've done to your car that made you successful that night. So you can kind of understand how it made you successful. You can basically be Chad Knaus.
Instead of a driver and a crew chief needing a couple notebooks, now it can all be done digital.
That's the way we're moving. We're saving trees these days. In turn number 4, we're going to make a big announcement. The Kansas Speedway 5-week contest is ready for your registration. So we'll talk more about that in turn number 4. In the meantime, let's get into turn number 1, and let's talk about Auto Club Speedway. Dirk, not trying to oversell people. I know Fox is really good about doing that. Not trying to overstate it, but I think this was the best race of the year.
It was a lot of good racing towards the front. Harvick dominated, just like he did last year. Didn't win, just like he did last year. A lot of surprises towards the end. Last year, Kempis had a fast car and broke the axle right at the end. This year, Kyle Busch had a fast car, loses a tire right at the end, both days.
Yeah.
But we talked about the Xfinity race last week's show. The race was good.
I was really impressed with, I'm kind of, maybe you can agree with me on this. I'm a bit of an apologetic person for NASCAR. A lot of times when somebody says, well, NASCAR is boring, I'm still going and finding the good things about it. I didn't have to go and find anything about this race. It was there for me from the start. The thing that impressed me the most was typically when you're on these 2-mile and a mile-and-a-half tracks, the big knock is that, and you and I have talked about it on the show before, from that green flag dropping out of turn number 2, when the leader is clear of the field, they're gone. I mean, they're 4/10, 5/10 faster than everybody else because of that clean air. That wasn't the case this week. Last week into Auto Club Speedway. It felt like eventually Kevin's car came in, and we're going to use Kevin as an example because he led a majority of this race. He led 142 of the 205 laps. But Kevin wasn't able to pull away right away, and what really impressed me was that it was, at times, a 3, 4, 5-car battle that anybody was within a tenth or 2/10 of the lead, and they were, moving their own lines and finding their ways around that track.
Well, if Chase Elliott had some more experience, he would have won that race.
Oh, he made some great moves to clear the field and keep his momentum up, because that was a big deal for that high side runner, and he was kind of just about a half a groove off the high side. Off the top groove, and really you got to keep your momentum up. Well, those guys on the bottom side would run up on you, would slide up in front of you and block you, so then he really had to make some amazing moves to keep his momentum up.
Well, there were a couple times there late in the race where he was making up ground. He was by far, he was 3-4 tenths faster than the leader, and he would get up to a car that he needed to pass running 4th or 5th, wherever they were, like Carl Edwards. It took him several laps to lap Carl, and Carl was dropping like a stone.
Mm-hmm.
Carl, it came on the radio there with 18 to go or something like that, and said he thought he had a tire issue and that his rear tires were completely gone.
Yeah.
But Chase didn't have the experience yet to be able to just get by him. Mm-hmm. So if he'd had a little more experience, I think he really would have won that race because he was the fastest car. He would have at least been leading when that last yellow came out.
I agree. I think he had probably one of the best cars. The Danica Casey situation, where do you sit with that?
Casey owned it. He said he screwed up. I don't know what's all happened with any penalties or anything. I think Danica did wrong, and a big no-no when she jumped out of her car and walked up the apron towards the racetrack to voice her displeasure.
Absolutely. After the Kevin Ward situation, after the Kevin Ward tragedy a couple of years ago, NASCAR immediately came out and said there's a plan in place now. Drivers are not allowed to get out of their car until the safety officials are there, unless they feel that there is a safety risk. And you heard Danica come over the radio and say, "I smell gas, can I get out?" And then I believe it was her spotter came over and said yes. So she was cleared to get out of the car. However, after you get out of the car, you're still not allowed what is called a hot track. You know that reference is when the track is there's cars still on the track. Caution or not, you're not allowed to go back on that track because you never know what's going to happen. And there was that 1 in a million shot that unfortunately we lost Kevin Ward because of what happened. You don't want that to happen to anybody else.
Yeah, and so, she's going to face a little consequence for that. I mean, NASCAR has been very strenuous on, don't do it. And, I wish her spotter would have gone ahead and tell her don't walk towards the racetrack once he saw it, because he could have seen it. But, Casey owned it. What was going through his mind at the time, I honestly think he was ducking in behind her.
Yeah, I agree.
And just did it too quick.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And I think we should be clear with this. We obviously recorded on Tuesday. I shouldn't say obviously because you guys don't know that, but we recorded on Tuesday, so we don't know if any penalties came down for this or not. The best place to go and find out is, if you haven't heard yet, head over to the Front Stretch Facebook page. But as far as we're concerned on Tuesday, nothing's been decided yet. But Casey is not going to get penalized for wrecking Danica Patrick. Casey is going to get penalized for being a lap-down car wrecking a lead lap car. NASCAR came out in the postseason, and this is a direct response to what happened with
Logano and Kansas.
Right. Yep. NASCAR said they do not want lap-down cars affecting the outcome of the race or affecting the outcome for a lead lap car, and they really don't want non-chase contenders affecting the outcome of the championship. So this was the sense of Danica was on the lead lap, Casey was not. So I don't know if anything's going to come of it, because it sounded like the conversation that they had after the race when they called the spotter and the crew chief of Casey came down to the hauler was what happened. And I think they were just getting Casey's side of it. I don't think they're going to penalize Casey. And if it is, it's going to be it's going to be a minimum thing.
I don't know. I don't see any point penalty. I really don't see any monetary thing. I think if I think anything happens, it'll be a probation deal.
Truex versus Logano. There was a little bit of hard racing between those two on the track. And after the race is over with, Truex's crew chief, I can't say the words because they're not radio friendly, but made a reference. He called Joey Logano squinty-eyed blank bag, if that helps you understand what he said. And NASCAR didn't like that, which I don't think anybody would have liked that. I think that was a little bit over the line. If you want to call him punk or a bad driver, okay, let's keep it decent and clean. You don't have to start calling. I know we're in like third grade, sticks and stones, maybe words never hurt, but you don't have to take it to that, and he did. And so Cole Pearn possibly going to face another issue when he's already on NASCAR probation. When is he going to learn?
I don't know if anything will come with that, because he did react quickly enough and go ahead and make an apology. Yeah. Which, again, it takes a man to do that.
Yeah.
Same way with Casey owning up to what happened.
Still, I tell you, one rule in life that has come about with Facebook, Twitter, and all these things is when you're mad, keep social media as far away from you as you can.
Absolutely.
Because every NFL player will tell you that will bite you real quick. Even, 50 Cent, after he won his bankruptcy case, posted a picture of him with a bunch of money. What a moron. Anyways, so yeah, there was a lot that went on that day. But let's talk about one of the technical things we were talking. You and I were texting back and forth, and right from the start of the race, we were seeing cars that were blowing tires pretty quickly. And immediately, Fox, I think, did the right thing and had Goodyear on after the first set of stops. And Goodyear said, I think it was Larry McReynolds that came out and said, Goodyear recommended it, and what was
19
it again?
PSI on the left side tires.
Yeah.
And that's at every race. Goodyear gives them a tire pressure.
Right.
And when they start the race...
and that's a minimum tire pressure.
Correct.
When they start those races.
And when they go through tech, and supposed to be when they start the race, that is the tire pressure that's supposed to be in the tires. And it's like... I'm
gonna actually correct you on that. I don't think it's a requirement for NASCAR. Teams and Goodyear have asked for it, said we need to set minimum tire requirements, because frankly Goodyear looks bad when all these tires are blowing and the drivers are out there saying it's Goodyear's fault when it turns out your crew chief had too low a tire pressure and we told you this would happen.
Well, I'm telling you, just from working the technical side like I did at the racetrack, that's what I know it's for qualifying. That's what they have to have in there. Mm-hmm. Now what happens after that, because once the car's on the grid and stuff, they go out 10 minutes before the race starts and reset all the tire pressures. If they drop them then, they're not checked again.
Yeah. And this is the reason why they do this, because the tire pressures will build up over the time. So the goal is knowing over, what's a green flag run Auto Club, 35, 40 laps?
Somewhere.
So over that time, the tire pressure is going to build up a certain amount. So let's say it builds up 20 pounds.
No, and it won't even do close to that.
You don't think? What, really?
That's why they use inert gas in the tires.
Oh, because nitrogen. Okay. Well, the tire pressure will build up to an optimal area. What they don't want to do is
2 pounds in that race tire is huge.
Oh yeah. What I'm getting at is what they don't want to do is build up that tire pressure to where it overinflates, and then there's not enough contact on the track.
Well, and then all you're doing is you can still have a fast car that way.
Right.
Because of the way the cars roll in the corner and the way the chassis are set up, but you will wear out the center of the tire just as you could wear out the edges.
So a lot of these guys were running too low of tire pressures, so when they were out there running those first few laps, it was just shredding the tire apart.
Well, where it just builds up too much heat on the straightaway because the tire's not running flat.
Okay.
Because the tire's set up to run flat in the corners, so when you go into the straightaway, you're running one edge or the other on the way the chassis is set up.
Yeah.
And you build up so much heat when you're only running. You got a 10-inch wide tire and you're only running on 5 or 6 inches of it. Mm-hmm. You build up a ton of heat at 200 miles an hour. That's just a fact.
And did I see it right that a lot of cars were running some pretty severe camber in their wheel setups?
Oh yeah. Well, and the more you can, hopefully the better you're going to be in the turns.
So that was leading to a lot of tire issues, including Kyle Busch. At first you kind of sit there and say, poor Kyle. Two races in a row, he was leading in the Xfinity race, and boy, what a finish there. And I think he was running like third or fourth in the Cup race, looking to have a good finish, and blows another tire. Kyle is going to get into a little bit of trouble because for the Xfinity race, 2 things he did. One of them, and I think we talked about this on Sunday.
Yes, we did.
One of them was that he failed to meet his post-race media obligations.
Going for the interview.
One thing I love about NASCAR is they said, you finish in the top 3, you must go into the media center and conduct an interview. He was upset. We saw the old Kyle Busch, and he didn't go talk to the media. And maybe we saw a little bit more of an evolved Kyle Busch where he knows he was upset. He knows he was going to say something wrong, so he just went to his hauler and avoided the situation.
Figured he was going to get fined one way or the other, so he might not make anybody mad.
Absolutely. But he's going to get fined for this. So, and then where a lot of people I think are having problems with it is he called out NASCAR, and he blatantly not putting words in his mouth, he said NASCAR fixes these races. Which that's pretty severe. And NASCAR in the past has fined drivers for talking bad about the sport. It's a discouraging comment, is what it's called in the rule books, and he could face a pretty big penalty for that.
Well, and he's got a point, but I mean, I've watched NASCAR for years, and I don't ever remember it happening the way they do things now. I mean, they're quick to throw yellows. Safety's huge. I got no problem with that. But when his tire was shredding and dumping stuff all over the track on Saturday, they did not throw the yellow. But what are they going to do? The leader caused the yellow. Normally, whoever causes the yellow goes to the back on the restart. Well, It's the last lap, so there's not going to be a restart. So how can you win under a yellow when you cause the yellow? I wouldn't be surprised that NASCAR comes out with some type of a comment and says, all right, if you're the leader and you cause the yellow, you don't win. You go to the back of the lead lap.
So it's kind of one of those things that they may have not thrown the caution knowing that they were going to be in a predicament.
Catch 22.
Right, okay. That makes a lot of sense. All right, we got to take a break. Well, actually, we should go through the finishing order. Jimmy Johnson gets his second win on the season.
Superman.
What a cool thing that Superman won.
The capes.
Yep, all the capes come out. All the different stuff came out. He led 25 laps of that race. Kevin Harvick second. He led 142 laps. Denny Hamlin third, Joey Logano fourth, and Ricky Stenhouse. Good run for Ricky. Finished fifth. Chase Elliott, highest rookie finisher at sixth. Carl Edwards seventh. AJ Allmendinger. What a good run for AJ. In eighth place, Brad Keselowski ninth, and Jamie Mack finished 10th. Couple of guys who struggled. Kyle Larson, hard wreck early in the race.
Monster crash.
Man, that was, and as soon as that wreck happened, just like the Fox broadcast guys went back and talked about, that he pretty much hit in the same spot that Denny Hamlin hit. Well, it was farther back in the track because he was coming along the backstretch. Denny was right in between 3 and 4.
Right.
But that area wasn't covered by safer barriers, as far as I know. A couple of years ago, Auto Club, since the Denny Hamlin situation, went and covered the whole track, or at least
inside and out,
much larger portion of it. And boy, man, that was a hard hit. Danica Patrick also had a hard hit with the outside retaining wall along the front stretch after contact with Casey Kane. Greg Biffle had a rough day. Let's see who else. Martin Truex Jr. was having a very good day, but
incident with Logano.
Yeah, the incident with Logano and ended his day. Kurt Busch was trying to make his way to the front, but slid up in front of Dale Earnhardt Jr., and Dale had such a good run that he backed into Kurt. They didn't wreck, but it did enough damage on Kurt's car that he had to come down and get it fixed because there was a tire rub. Casey Kane finished 28th. I was really, really surprised at Austin Dillon, 24th, when I expected him to be a top 5 car.
Well, he was in the top 10. He came in on that last pit stop with the 2 to go deal, came in 10th, and came back out on the track, I think, in 26th. Mm-hmm. And I still don't know what happened.
He still didn't have a good car. I mean, he right from the drop of the green flag, he started moving back.
But he had a decent car. He just wasn't, he wasn't able to drive whatever line he wanted, was either where Harvick was or whatever, the line that he drove during qualifying. But I watched the replay of the race on Monday, and I was really paying attention to see if I could see anything weird happen in his pit stop. And something did happen. He pulled out of the pits. He pulled out of his stall just like he was going to come back on the track, and he got half a car out of his stall and put it in reverse and backed back in for something. I have no idea what. Haven't found it anywhere yet.
Interesting.
But there was something that dropped him so far back. I want to take a second, though. Jimmy Johnson is now, I believe, 7th on the all-time win list with this win. He moved with, I think, 77 wins, one ahead of Dale Earnhardt Sr. So congratulations to him on that, and a brilliant career. And he's still got some wins left in him. And I think that was the record-setting 6th win at California Speedway there at Fontana. So
yeah, he has the record for most wins, most top 5s, and most top 10s of any active driver at all.
Well, he's got like 16 races, and he's been in the top 10, I think, 13 times.
I think maybe that's one guy that you need to pencil in when we come to Auto Club next year as a surefire pick, like we've been doing with Kevin Harvick at Phoenix. Yeah. And well-deserved for Jimmy Johnson. Absolutely fantastic. It kind of worries me, though, the way he's been driving lately. We may see him getting really close to that 7th championship. We'll have to start calling him 7-time maybe here for as the season wraps up. But
tied with a couple other people.
A lot of show to go. We got Steve Kinser just around the corner, Dusty Reynolds, and we'll announce the Kansas Speedway 5-week contest. This is the Front Stretch on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio.
Hey, it's me, Kansas Speedway. And I'm sorry. Sorry for the barehanded slap of adrenaline and the burnt rubber aftertaste. Sorry other tailgates will seem lame. Yeah, real sorry about that.
It's the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series GoBowling.com 400. Saturday night, May 7th, Mother's Day weekend.
Yeah. Sorry, Mom.
Tickets at KansasSpeedway.com.
You're welcome.
Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs has taken a page out of IMCA's rulebook and gone crate. These brand new low-emission engines will still have you white-knuckling it all through the Metro's fastest indoor facility. Joe's Karting is now friendly for all skill levels with their brand new Honda-powered engines. It's time to get to Joe's today and find out what drivers like Jack Dover, Shaylee Bate, and Andrew Kosiski have known for years. Located in Council Bluffs and online at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K.
We're hooked up in turn 2 and still showing the green flag on the front stretch.
Welcome back to the front stretch, rolling into turn number 2, and we're finally getting to an interview that we've been meaning to play for a long time. Obviously, Steve Kinser, one of the best sprint car drivers out there. I think he's one of the winningest sprint car drivers out there.
20-time champion, I believe, for the World Outlaws.
We had an opportunity to sit down with him at the NSL show a few months ago at I-80 Speedway, and so we kicked it off by asking him, how's retirement going?
Well, we've run a little bit, not a lot. It's different than what I've been used to doing in the past 35, 40 years. But it's been pretty enjoyment for me. So we've been pretty relaxing. We just sort of go hit races we want to hit, and I don't want to do a lot of racing. This is about as far as I want to get away from home right now. So it's been pretty nice to be able to spend a little time in Bloomington. I haven't spent a summer there in 40 years, so even though
What's it like?
Even though it got a little boring there pretty quick, I can tell you. You can only mow so much grass and do so much cleaning.
The semi-retirement thing, it seems like it's kind of a nice thing. Like, after 40 years of putting in a lot of travel and a lot of long days, that it's kind of like, I'm going to go do what I want to do. I'm going to race when I want to, where I want to, and I'm not going to have to worry about points and all this stuff. I just get to go out and have fun.
Well, that's what we're trying to do. I was after last year. I was at me and TSR had to join a thing where I'd rent a car out of my shop under their banners, sort of a thing. And I told Tony, said, "Well, won't you if you want to race some and run some?" He said, "I'll field you a car out of the shop. And you just show up with your helmet or just leave your helmet. All you have to do is show up, climb in the car, and run, and we'll take care of everything." I said, "Well." A deal like that, I might be interested in racing a little bit. So, and we, it was pretty good because we got to start off at Arizona, so we got out of the cold weather a little bit, and went out there and started that series, and then to Florida. So I didn't mind getting out of the winter time. So and it has been fun. It's sometimes it's hard to go away from home, and sometimes it's hard to stay at home. So it's a tough thing to get into.
You kind of got used to spending the winter months down there in the Southwest. You got some good sponsors down there and great friends, and always good to see you.
Yeah, it's always been good. Anytime, like I said, anytime you can. I've been fortunate enough to be able to go to Australia and get over their summertime many times, and go to Arizona quite a bit, and then into Florida and things. So it makes our winters relatively short, but there's still a lot of work goes on in the wintertime.
You announced your retirement from the World of Outlaws last year, and from everything I've read and talked to you a little bit, you're a very humble guy. All the attention you got on the final year last year, did it get to be too much at times?
Well, we've been fairly popular for quite a time, so we've had quite a bit of attention. So, it was unbelievable. I just had so many race fans come up to me that probably wasn't Steve Kinser fans over the years, or it might have been somebody else's fan, but come up and thank to me and tell me, said, I've not always been one of your biggest fans or not, but we've always enjoyed watching your race and things like that. And I had so many of those kind of people and different things happen. It was sort of unbelievable.
And respect, whether they were a fan or not, when the final dust settles, they respected your ability and respected your passion for racing and the desire to win.
Yeah, they did, and sometimes as you slow down and don't win as much races as you used to, things you pick up some of those fans, especially some of the older fans around my age.
That's when you know they are true fans.
We're talking to the King of Outlaws, Steve Kinser, driver the number 11, 61 years young this year, or you're 62. Are you 62 now? Or?
No, 61.
Okay, I didn't want to get you too young. I know your birthday's in June, so I wanted to make sure I got it right this time.
We had 61 candles on the cake, didn't we?
And a fire extinguisher nearby.
Let's say that you're 18 and coming into the sport today. Do you think you would have as much success as you've had?
It's hard to say. When I started racing, or definitely the fields wasn't definitely this deep. You understand? They got so many good. They got so many good race cars out there that is so equal. But but then you still got guys like Donnie that somehow seem to win a lot of races no matter where he goes and what circuit he runs. And but I don't know. I fell in a good place with a good partnership with Carl Kinser, racing for him for so many years, and. We had nobody knew who Carl was or much who I was when we started, but I'd been around Carl and knew he had good fast race cars, and was fortunate enough to get in that car earlier in my career, and just had 14, 15 great years with him.
That was going to be my comment when you said that, whether you would have the success today that you did back then. I was going to mention that would be whether or not you and Carl could hook back up again and both be 18 again.
Yeah, well, we had Carl in his prime. I think Carl could probably come out here today if he wanted to. He's just got that much ability to watch a race car and know how to set it up and how to make it roll around the tracks well. He might need to take a little younger driver or something like that, but I think he could. I actually believe with a little time he could come out and even at his age, which is older than me, still get a car roll around a racetrack pretty good.
We talked about that last night. The current track record holder record right here at I-80 Speedway is held by Mark Kinser. It was set back in 2000, and even the fast time last night was still 0.3 off that record 15 years later.
Yeah, it's basically since the weight rules and everything else come in, and all the specs we put on the weight of the chassis and everything else,
tires,
the spec tires and things like that. It took a long time to start breaking some of the track records. Now we have started doing it in the last few years a little bit, but some of them track records are still hold for a lot of places.
Yep.
With as much as these sprint cars have changed, has things really changed that much? Because you talk about that Craig could still go out there Carl could go out there and still set up a car despite how much these things have changed.
Well, somebody, if you get somebody that's really, really good, and sometimes there is drivers out there that are really good at getting a feel for a car and what they need, and just so happens I don't think I'm one of them. Yeah. But I've had not a whole lot. I've not raced for a whole lot of different people actually. For Carl, myself, with Scott Gherkin, and now with Tony and Jimmy here for a few years. So this is relatively all new people I'm dealing with, and we're running a handful of races. So we come out, we get right. We've won a few races this year, and then we come out and we've been wrong and struggled some. And again, I feel like we all sort of try pretty hard, but. If you're not running all the races every night, it's hard to keep up with the people that are doing them quite a bit. And I've always said that would be the case, and that's the reason I said when I quit, instead of cutting back, I would probably just quit. But I don't know.
That's a pretty good deal.
Right opportunity
hasn't quite happened that way, but getting close.
We're glad you decided to race once in a while, and glad you decided to make I-80 Speedway one of your stops.
Yeah, I mean, I've always enjoyed coming here racing. I don't know if I've ever been here quite this late in the year or not, but it's always been a fun rack, and I've had a lot of success here, as well as a lot of places out in Nebraska. So always enjoys racing here.
I remember that win out at Mid-Continent here a couple years. It was the first win of the year for you with the Outlaws, and the crowd went absolutely crazy.
Looking back on your career, I mean, you forayed into NASCAR. You've gone to the Indianapolis 500. We talked to Roger Rager a year ago, and Roger explained to us that when you go run the Indy 500, you need 2 helmet bags. You need one for your helmet and one for your balls. Do you think that sentiment's pretty much correct?
Well, the open wheel cars are a lot like that. I can tell you that, whether it be a sprint car or an Indy car, whatever. Especially the speeds are running, and some of the races they've had this year are just crazy out there. They're running so close together and things, but anytime you're in an open wheel car, it's pretty exciting.
Now that you've been away from racing, at least full time, for a year, do you think you retired at the right time?
No, I think I probably should retire a few years earlier, to be honest with you.
Can you still have fun going out there and racing, or do you need to win in order to have fun?
Oh, you really need to run for competitive to have fun. It's still miserable, but you can, no matter what, you just keep thinking there's that one more out there, and just go out there and try to get it.
Keep chasing that dollar.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. That's one of the reasons I wanted to get these cars out of my shop. I raced awful lot of years and have a lot of success, and racing's been pretty good to me. A lot of fun, both financially, and a lot of good friends have become involved out of it. You don't want to just sit out there and give it all back what you worked 40 years for.
Yep.
Donnie Schatz won his 30th World of Outlaw feature this year. Your best was 46 wins in back in 1987. Do you kind of look at that 30 and look at Donnie and go, keep trying, kid, keep trying?
Well, I don't know. I don't think your stats are quite right. I think it was more than that. I think it was up in the 50s in that year. But
really?
We was pretty dominant back then, and like Donnie is right now. So him and Ricky Warner do a great job together, a great team, and Ricky went to the Carl Kinser School of Racing, and he's taken right up in his footprints too.
That's another thing is how much of an impact not only you but your entire family has had on sprint car racing. I mean, you guys pretty much have your own area over in the Sprint Car Hall of Fame. You guys could pretty much own it for everything that's over there.
Well, my dad started racing, back in the early 50s and things like that, which is, cut down Crosley bodies on flathead Fords or whatever it was, and revolved into sprint car racing up through the years, and was really competitive in the Midwest, especially around Indiana, and then traveled out, and he ran some USAC races and IMSA races and stuff back those days, but won a lot of races, and got Sheldon Kinser started, and just sort of kept snowballing. So now we're into three or four. My brother raced quite a bit of us, and then some cousins, and
there's as many Kinsers as there are Koziskis, I think.
So you've run a couple of these National Sprint League races this year. You've had a chance to kind of look at it. You think this could be a viable series for a couple of years that could really help revive the 410s?
Well, I think it's definitely great for all the guys around in this area, and there's a lot of good race cars out here that running here, so and it gives them a little extra places to run where they don't have to go quite as far. So, it's been pretty nice. It's been pretty nice because I come here and run I think we ran the first race, and we're going to run the last one here, and it's nice to see what they're doing, and then we'll go run some all-star races. They got some good tough guys running around Ohio. So we got three nice racing leagues here to race and run from. So I don't think it can't do nothing but help all the 410 sprint car racing.
Well, you're talking about retirement and enjoying your time at home, but you going to head to Australia this year?
If I go anywhere, I like to go where it's warm. That's for sure. I'll probably be down there whether I'm racing or not. So
okay.
I'm not big on going to probably watching races, but I do like to watch races. But I don't know about sprint car races. I'd love to go. I might when I do sort of retire from a race fan, I might go watch me some late model races and stuff like that. I've always enjoyed watching them run and got to know a lot of the guys real well. So I might tag along and do
come on back
there.
Here in July when we got the Silver Dollar National. It's one of the best dirt track races you'll ever see.
Well, they put on a pretty good show wherever they go, so it's fun to watch.
Steve Kinser, the King of Outlaws. Appreciate you joining us again on the front stretch. Always great to have you on.
All right, thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, bud. We'll be back on the front stretch on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN
Good luck
Radio.
tonight, sir.
Are you looking to book your next outing? Look no further than Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Located just north of Bass Pro Shop, Joe's Karting can handle outings of well over 100 plus people. Bachelor parties, corporate outings, team building, birthday parties, and much more. Give Buddy a call today and reserve your outing. Joe's will even work with local restaurants to cater your event. Book yours today at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K. It's time to get to Joe's and find out what everyone already knows.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Quaker Steak and Lube is the official watering hole for the front stretch and the best place to catch all the NASCAR action today. Open at 11 a.m. with delivery available to Council Bluffs.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Feather the brake and get back to the gas. Dan and Dirk are headed into turn 3 on the front stretch.
Hi, I'm Ty Dillon, driver of the number 3 Bass Pro Shops Westco Yingling Light Lager Chevrolet, and you're listening to The Front Stretch.
Welcome back to the front stretch, heading into turn number 3, brought to you by Kansas Speedway. More tickets are available for $99 or less, and kids tickets for $29 or less. Tickets for the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series Go Bowling 400 Saturday night, May 7th race are available now. Call 866-460-RACE or visit KansasSpeedway.com.
But there's not as many tickets as there used to be.
They're going quick. That's going to be a good race. We talked about that after the Auto Club results. I talked about that with Luke Cochran, I think, after the Auto Club Speedway. No, that Kansas should be a very good race this year from what we saw from
with
Auto
the new
Club
package.
In the two-mile package. Now we're going to start seeing some mile and a half. So this could be a very good race. It's a Saturday night race. You're going to see the sparks, the tempers get a little bit more, gets a little bit more dirt track feel to it. So it's perfect. Get your tickets now. $99 for adults, just starting at $99. Kids, $29. You really can't beat that. 866-460-RACE. Joining us in the studio now, a Omaha entrepreneur, man who started a company called RaceNote, and it's basically the digital Bible for all racers, right, Dusty? How you doing?
You bet. I'm doing well. Thanks for having me, Dan.
It's been a while since we have you on the show, and we talked to you a while back. I think it was about 2 years ago, actually, before the season got kicked off, and you brought this whole thing. It was something new you created because you'd had some connections in the dirt world, and you thought, well, let's take it from the notebook that you can easily lose, you can get it spilled on, you can get it destroyed, and it's wasting paper, to a digital form of it. And you guys have really done a lot of great things with taking the RaceNote and taking that driver's Bible and turning it into a digital form so that it's easy to be able to compare notes with teammates and chassis designers.
Yeah, we've been really fortunate. We started off initially with the dirt track racers, quickly got to about 2,000 different customers around the globe that are using that, and that's been fantastic. We were really fortunate about a year ago where we started having some Sprint Cup teams that said, believe it or not, what you guys are doing at the dirt track side, that can actually translate into our world. And so we work with a lot of the Sprint Cup teams now in the same capacity.
That's crazy to me to think that they didn't have something like this before. Or maybe they did, and your system was just a lot better. Do you know which way that was going?
So it's a little bit of both, and there's a few different lenses you have to look through. One that I wasn't familiar with was the tenure of the average employee at a NASCAR team, whether it be truck team all the way to Sprint Cup, is about 18 months.
Wow.
So when you think about how often people are moving from team to team, the last thing they want done is anything wrote down on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
Because someone can walk out the door with that. So pretty much everything is electronic anymore. Some people are using Microsoft Excel, some were using just basic Word documents. So what we were able to do at the dirt track level translated into that really quite nicely for them.
Yeah, we know we've got one of our guests, and somebody you might be familiar with, Tom Ackerman.
Yeah.
Lee Ackerman's boy. I mean, where's he gone in the last 2 years? He was at Brad Keselowski, then he went to Kyle Busch, now he's at Gallagher.
Yeah.
And, your 18 months probably spot on.
Yeah, that's even getting long anymore, and you're starting to see, it's such a fluid industry anymore. You'll talk with someone, and you don't even remember. I always try to do a pretty good job of putting in my phone where they work at.
Yeah.
I quit doing that because it just changes too often.
Was it Tim at so-and-so? Was
yeah, exactly. You can't use email anymore, and so that's why even in the industry now, almost all our support is done via text message.
Really?
Because email, just by the time you go and update the system every 9 months, when you think that every Sprint Cup team has between 4 and 8 engineers on it, you take that times 40 different teams. That's a lot of people to try and manage. So we just always do text.
Absolutely. And one thing I thought was really cool about your system and was a really brilliant stroke was not only that you're able to keep track of the records. So I'm on the USMTS tour, or I'm on the Lucas Oil tour, and I can take the notes that I got from this weekend at I-80 Speedway or Deer Creek Speedway or wherever we're at, and I can send them to my chassis designer and then have an engineering meeting on Monday morning to be able to talk about where I could adjust to make the car a little bit faster.
You bet. That really helps. I mean, especially as hyper-connected as what the world is, we need to be able to make sure that we can help facilitate that connection. We work really closely with Kevin Rumley and Jonathan Davenport, and obviously with the success that they had last year, everyone's asking for information. And
did Davenport have some success last year?
That's the biggest understatement I've heard yet this year.
So, and that's the exact thing. Like when people are reaching out to them for information, it's so much easier to be able to just say, hey, here's what I had on the car versus, let me type it out and give it to you, or let me jump on the phone. At the end of the day, everyone wants to be working on their car or behind the wheel. They don't want to be on the phone. And if we can help take that away, that's a win for us.
How is the development coming for the Sprint Cup Series? I know we had talked, what was it? Was it back in at the Cornhusker last year that you said that you had made a deal with Chevy to be their major software provider?
Yeah, so it's going really well. So one of the things that we stumbled upon is, auto racing is arguably the most technical sport, and they're just inundated with data. I think a lot of engineers would even say they don't need more data, they need better data. One of the things that we stumbled across on was that race team communications. So if Dirk's the driver and you're the crew chief, you're talking the entire race. And that's really obvious to race fans. But what we realized is that data is really, really rich in information. And so what we did is we built out a system that takes that communication, converts it to text, and then categorizes it. So now at the end of the race, I can go and say, all right, what was Dirk talking about on lap 30 when they made an adjustment on their car, and what type of adjustment did they make? And so we do that after the race, but then we just rolled out a product at Daytona this year where it actually does that in real time. So now teams are capable of being able to look, not just listen to other teams, but they can see what they're saying in real time and it's categorized. So you can say, hey, I just want to hear every time a Joe Gibbs racing car talks about balance feedback, and that builds out a column, and they can have all that done in real time.
Well, and now the 4 Gibbs cars don't have to have 1 or 2 guys running from crew chief to crew chief saying, hey, this is what we did during this stop, what'd you guys do?
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, God, that's fantastic.
So, and we've talked about sharing information, like, take a couple of weeks ago at Phoenix when Kevin Harvick is so dominant there, and it'd be easy for his other Stewart-Haas racing teams to be able to take I assume just an email or a thumb drive can transfer the information over to the laptop for the engineer for the other cars and be able to put those adjustments on their car.
Yeah, so it's just a push of a button and it goes right there. And then the nice thing about it too is with our system, given how fluid the industry is, that based upon what their responsibilities are, they can only see certain things. So if you're the tire specialist, you can only see the tire category within the system. So that way, when you go from one team to another in a year over year over year, there's no way of you being able to get any other information other than that which you had the tires.
And and we're going to deal with that as Stewart-Haas Racing is switching from Chevys this year over to Fords.
Yeah.
We've kind of talked about it with Chevy says, well, it's going to be business as usual for a while, but eventually we're going to have to start drawing back the support we're giving them and the things they're seeing. And that's kind of the same thing you're talking about.
Yep. And I mean, and Ford and Chevy, they're both fantastic organizations. It'll be really interesting to see how that transition happens, because when you start to look at just how much data they're looking at, it's going to take a few days to be able to figure out how they're going to get that from one system to another and from one organization to another. They're smart guys. They got a bunch of good engineers around the table, and they'll figure it out, but it'll be a lot of work, that's for sure.
That's it's awesome that you're an Omaha-based company. You're an Omaha boy, and all Omaha employees that are doing this stuff.
Yep.
And I mean, that's so cool that you're carrying the banner for the Midwest.
Thanks, man. We're really, really fortunate. There's a lot of times where we're sitting in the garage talking with folks, and I feel like I'm still more of a fanboy than actually a sales rep for this company, but it's still a lot of fun.
How many races do you go to a year then?
Right now, I'm slated. I'll probably be between 8 and 12 for the season. So we try not to send too many people to the track. Anytime we have a new customer, we're always with them for the first 2 weeks just to provide the support. So because at the beginning of the season and there's new product coming out, we try to rotate, make sure it's not the same person, but we have a strong presence there.
Do you guys go to test practices too? Or excuse me, I said 2 words. Tests when they do like tire tests or they do aero package tests. Do you guys go to those too?
Typically not, just because that's not as fast paced. If something goes wrong during a race, that something has to be handled right away. We're a bit of an anomaly in the sense that, if we're selling parts or we're selling a wheel, whatever it may be, and something breaks, we physically have to be there to see what happened. Well, we're software, for God's sake. I mean, nothing is going to be handled at the track anyways, so it's literally pick up a call, or pick up the phone and call. So we try not to be at the track unless we absolutely have to be.
Well, and the testing's not like it used to be, where each team's getting 4 tests and they're all over the place. I'm pretty sure this year though, the way NASCAR's history's been is with the new downforce package at the tracks they did not run it at last year. I think they're running an extra day's practice at the front.
So, yep.
Yeah, that's how they used to do it, so I assume they still do that.
I think that's smart because that low downforce package, I mean, that's a whole new ballgame.
Oh, yeah,
it's
absolutely.
fun to see people who traditionally weren't running up front.
So give me your best starstruck story you have so far.
Oh, boy, that's a good question. So probably it was last year at Hendrick. So walking in, and I don't know if you've been on Hendrick's campus before, but it's absolutely massive.
I've been there, yeah.
It's a lot of times you just don't understand the
They
scale.
need golf carts to haul you around.
Yeah, golf carts. I mean, they have a mini football field, and they've got, I was just there a couple weeks ago again, and they had the Georgia baseball team. They're doing auditions for the pit crew.
Oh, wow.
And it just, the scale of everything is just so massive. I had a meeting, and it was when we were discussing our audio product and letting them know when a release date was, and you walk in, and everyone kind of scattered, and I didn't really think too much about it. Well, because we're the first one in the industry doing what we're doing, the people that were scattering, I didn't really pay attention to, but the people who were scattering were the crew chiefs and all the drivers, and it was their data dump. And so it was that moment where you're so focused on, hey, I just need to make the sale, and then you take a step back and say, wow, there goes the 88 car, there goes Kane, there goes Johnson, there goes Canales. It's like, you guys just left this meeting for a podunk guy from Nebraska. I don't know what's going on here, but yeah, that's probably the biggest starstruck moment.
That's cool. That's a lot of, and so the great thing is, we're talking about the Sprint Cup Series, we're talking about Hendrick and the Chevy industry, but I can get this on my everyday dirt track too. I mean, I was kind of surfing your site before you put me on the show, and there's a dirt track side of it and there's an asphalt side of it. And so if I'm a weekly racer, is it something that would be beneficial to me as a weekly racer, or do I need to be in a kind of a regional to a national touring series?
Yeah, so what we say the benefit changes really based upon whatever class you're going to need, and we try to scale down the pricing to align with that. Right now, it provides the benefit. Once we come to July, that's when it's going to be something huge, because we've got something that will end up rolling out in July 1. We're really excited about. So it'll be the ability for you to be actually involve video analysis. Mm-hmm. So you'll be able to record your car, have fans record the car, lap times are directly on top of that, and then that goes back to someone's RaceNote account. So the nice part about that is now at the end of the race, teams and drivers are capable of seeing exactly what the video was, and it's fans that can source and curate that video for them.
Well, I still think, the whole deal sounds fantastic to me, but just as in any race setup or any race situation, it's going to be all on the driver and how they interpret the whole thing. Because you sit and you watch a guy drive and he says his car's doing this and his car's doing that, but he went out and he ran 4 different lines. Well, of course the car is going to do something different. You got to run the same line 3 or 4 laps to be able to get anything useful out of that time. You know?
And I think that's why we've had this product built now for a couple months, and the testing has come out fantastic with it. And it's that exact thing, is because you have a crew chief that says, like, I don't even know how to make an adjustment to the car because you were all over the track. You came in
exactly,
and what that does is, the driver will come in and say, well, no, I was on the bottom the entire time, and the crew chief is looking at the video saying, you entered on the A line, you exited on the C or D line. Like, that's not a consistent line, so I don't know how to make an adjustment there.
And the next lap, you came in on the B line and exited on the A or the D line.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. So that helps with that.
RaceNote.com. There's a free trial available. I think I saw it starting at, for the smaller series, you can get it as little as $12 a month, or you can get it incrementally up from there, as depending on what products you add into that from there. Dusty, appreciate your time, bud.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Dan.
Have a good one.
That was great.
We'll be back here on the Front Stretch.
Hey, it's me, Kansas Speedway, and I'm sorry. Sorry for the barehanded slap of adrenaline and the burnt rubber aftertaste. Sorry other tailgates will seem lame. Yeah, real sorry about that.
It's the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series GoBowling.com 400. Saturday night, May 7th, Mother's Day weekend.
Yeah. Sorry, Mom.
Tickets at KansasSpeedway.com.
You're welcome.
Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs has taken a page out of IMCA's rulebook and gone crate. These brand new low-emission engines will still have you white-knuckling it all through the Metro's fastest indoor facility. Joe's Karting is now friendly for all skill levels with their brand new Honda-powered engines. It's time to get to Joe's today and find out what drivers like Jack Dover, Shaylee Bate, and Andrew Kosiski have known for years. Located in Council Bluffs and online at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K.
It's checkers or wreckers as we enter turn 4 on the Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs.
Hi, this is Mike Helton, president of NASCAR, and you're listening to the Front Stretch.
Welcome back to the show. Rolling into turn number 4, brought to you by Quaker Steak and Lube, the official watering hole of the Front Stretch. If you don't want to cook today, if maybe your family's just not able to get together because they are out and about, spread out throughout the country, head over to Quaker Steak and Lube. They have an amazing Easter buffet. They do these things all the time. They're absolutely fantastic. If you want to take your kids down there, enjoy the buffet. They do an Easter egg hunt. It's a lot of fun. It's going to be a great time today at the official watering hole of the Front Stretch, Quaker Steak and Lube in Council Bluffs. We went a little long with turn 1, and then we had Steve Kinser, and then we had Dusty Reynolds. We've had a hell of a show today.
Hey, I don't know about you, but everybody that wasn't in the studio today with us, Dusty actually gave us a little demo on his laptop of this stuff, and it is awesome.
That is so cool that just an Omaha-based company is doing something like that. And I got to tell you, I mean, they're doing things that I don't think I'd have ever thought of. And I like to think of me as kind of a bit of an idea guy coming up with fun, cool things and ways to make business better. That guy's so far ahead of us. Those guys at RaceNotes are so far ahead of us. And that is so cool that they're able to, that they're working hand in hand with Sprint Cup teams to kind of funnel this information, easy to read, easy to understand, easy to use. And the fact that the crew chiefs can sit there and pull up what every team is doing. I've always wondered that, because wasn't it during the Xfinity race on Saturday that Kevin Harvick was so mad that nobody knew that all the other teams were taking 4 tires when they took 2? And well, if they'd have had RaceNote, they'd have known it, because they could have just maintained that information and pulled the information out.
I don't know how much of that information is going to be shared. They might have been able to know everybody that was with JR Motorsports, which is who he was driving for. Yeah. I don't know if they can get everybody's information.
He said it monitors every channel because it's public. Every channel can be monitored, and it just pulls it right up there. And they can specifically select which teams. So obviously Kevin Harvick's going to be up in the upper echelon teams, so you'll want to select the teams that are going to be competing against you to know what's going on.
But I mean, I mean, even back when I was doing this 10, 12 years ago, the teams had 1 or 2 guys doing nothing but scanning the other teams. You go down in the pit stall, and you'll see guys down there with radios on, and you're trying to figure out, what are these guys doing? They're scanning these other teams. They're trying to see what each team is doing and talking about on the radio.
That's some interesting stuff. If you missed any part of today's show, head over to the YouTube channel. We'll have it posted at about 10 a.m. this morning, and you can get all the interviews over again. But we got a big announcement for you today.
Drum roll, please.
Finally got approval. We've been working hard for the last couple of weeks to get this done, but we finally got approval for the Kansas Speedway prize pack. And basically what we're going to do is a 5-week contest. So a lot of you listeners out there were with us last year, and you've done these 5-week contests. They're really easy. They're a lot of fun, and it's basically just a reset. Has absolutely nothing to do
with the season contest.
With the season contest. Who you take, who you've taken, who you're going to take doesn't matter in the season-long contest. That's a whole different game. That's a long game. Yep. We're talking a short game. We're going to do just a 5-week contest. Starts next weekend at Martinsville, and then it wraps up in 5 races at Talladega. So
all 5 races in April.
What a race to wrap up with. Actually, I think the Talladega race is like May 1st. But so it's going to be a 5-week contest. Your best accumulating points. Wins don't really bonus you like they do in the season-long contest, but wins are always great because you got the maximum amount of points, and wins do come into effect for a tiebreaker. So get as many points as you can in the 5-week contest.
You just can't take one driver twice. You can take 5. You got to take 5 different drivers in 5 weeks.
Absolutely. So here's the way it's going to roll out. The grand prize is going to win 4 tickets to the Friday Camping World Truck Series race at Kansas Speedway, and then 4 tickets to the Saturday Sprint Cup Series race at Kansas Speedway. 2nd, 3rd, and 4th are all going to win a pair of tickets to Friday and a pair of tickets to Saturday. It's that easy. Absolutely free to enter. We are going to change it up a little bit. Something new I feel like I need to do is that you do have to be 18 or older to participate in the contest. Now, if you're 35 and you've got a son, your son can go with you to the race, but you can only be the one to participate. You do have to be 18 or older. You do have to be a legal U.S. resident. We're going to need to see your ID when you come up to claim them at the radio station. Here's another tricky part of the whole thing is that Talladega's on Sunday. Cup guys are taking Monday off, and then they're headed to Kansas on Tuesday. They'll be there on Wednesday, so you're not going to have much time to find a hotel room unless you got family down there you can stay. Maybe you just go and grab a Roach Motel for like $85, but you're going to win free tickets. If you can win free tickets, you just have to get down there yourself.
Yep, and believe me, there'll be plenty of motels up around the airport, which isn't a bad drive to get to the racetrack. It's fairly close.
We booked ours a couple of weeks ago, and really this is the toughest thing about a NASCAR weekend is that if you go for the full weekend, Kansas just talked about it, tickets starting as low as $99 to get into the races. Well, it's going to be tough to find a decent hotel for $99. I mean, that's the toughest thing about these whole NASCAR weekends. I think we paid an average for our 3 nights. We paid an average of like $135 or $140 for our hotel room. And we've got a pretty nice hotel room with a very, very hot burrito.
And what I would,
there you go.
It was just a wrap, wasn't it?
Oh, it was a wrap, yeah.
And if I was you, the way I would play this is if you get 2 weeks in and you have 2 good races, I would go ahead, if you think you've got a chance to win these tickets, book yourself a motel room, try and save a few dollars from booking it in that last week. And you can always cancel it. Just get sure to cancel site to where you can, you're going to know the week ahead of time, 4 or 5 days in advance. If you don't have it, most of these places, you can book 24 or 72 hours and with a cancellation deal, and it doesn't cost you anything. But you can book the motel if you think you really got a shot, so you've got a place to stay, and then cancel it if you need to.
I always book ours through Hotels.com, and then usually a cancellation able hotel booking is about $20 more per night. So it's well worth it, because if you're anything, if you got to cancel it, there is no penalty. You get a full refund. But
really, all you're talking about is one motel night. Unless you're going to plan on having a good time and having a few beverages down there, you might want to go ahead and get Saturday night. But you take Friday off work, drive down Friday, enjoy the Cup practice, there'll be Cup practice, there'll be truck practice and Cup practice, and the trucks will qualify, then Cup will qualify, then the trucks race Friday night, and the Cup race is Saturday night. There's no on-track action Saturday during the day, so you can do a little hanging out down there. And
it's so fun to
go
just
through
go
the
and
midway,
walk around.
The midway out there outside the grandstand. They'll have all kinds of free stuff that they're giving away. They have all kinds of games you can do. The neat one is, I don't know if anybody's familiar with, I think it's called Plinko.
Plinko. Oh, who isn't?
Exactly.
You grew up in the 90s, Plinko.
Yeah, off the Price is Right show. And they've got this huge monster board with these dowel pins, that look like baseball bats, and they drop a Goodyear race tire down. And,
holy cow.
You go up, they got a big catwalk built. You got to climb up on top of this catwalk, 12, 15 foot in the air, and you drop a Goodyear race tire and try and get in for prizes. So, there's a lot of neat stuff out there.
The Kansas Speedway contest kicks off next weekend at Martinsville. If you want to be a part of it, just send us an email, frontstretch590@gmail.com. That Martinsville race is a Sunday race, right?
Correct.
Yeah, it's FS1 at 2 o'clock. So that's next Sunday.
Lights at Martinsville.
Oh, that'll be beautiful. They need to go into the lights there one of these days. But anyways, we got to wrap it up. We've gone long for today's show, as always. We'll do it all again next weekend, as we will get Jack Dover back in the studio. We'll talk to Cody Ledger. Who knows who else we'll have in the studio. As for today, enjoy yourself an Easter. Happy Easter, buddy.
You too.
And you guys all enjoy your Easter Sunday. We'll be back next Sunday to do it all again. This is The Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Quaker Steak and Lube is the official watering hole for the front stretch and the best place to catch all the NASCAR action today. Open at 11 a.m. with delivery available to Council Bluffs.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Are you looking to book your next outing? Look no further than Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Located just north of Bass Pro Shop, Joe's Karting can handle outings of well over 100 plus people. Bachelor parties, corporate outings, team building, birthday parties, and much more. Give Buddy a call today and reserve your outing. Joe's will even work with local restaurants to cater your event. Book yours today at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K. It's time to get to Joe's and find out what everyone already knows.